Hello everybody and welcome to this all-new episode of the Fairfax Sports Report. I'm your host, Monica Moore, and we have a great program for you tonight. Lots of state championships have taken place, so we'll have all the news for you. And to help me go through that, I'm delighted to be joined by two of the best sports writers from around the region, Paul Frumelt from the Fairfax Times and Dan Sousa, editor of Viva Loudon. But before we jump into everything, we want to thank the folks that help make our program possible. First of all, our good friends at CCI Screen Printing for all of your screen printing needs. Also, special thanks to Craig Sturbutzel for the fantastic photos he provides every week. You can get copies of this program at www.pressboxvideo.com. And don't forget to check out our website where you can see highlights, interviews, and more. You can become a fan of the Fairfax Sports Network on our Facebook page. And please send us any comments, suggestions, story ideas, or anything you want to tell us at our email address. Well, as always, we'll jump into a couple of news and notes. First of all, congratulations to Priscilla Smith, the Briarwoods lacrosse standout, has announced that she'll be attending Christopher Newport next year. She's the first lacrosse player from Briarwoods' women's program to go on and play at the next level. And we have some late breaking news to share with you, so I'm going to turn it over to Paul and Dan to talk about some of the news that's just happened today from around Northern Virginia.
All right, Dan, so I am Paul from the Fairfax County Times, Dan Sousa, the editor of VivaLoudon.com.
Glad to be here.
Breaking news, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I guess it's happening out in Loudon, so I should jump on that. Potomac Falls assistant coach, the defensive coordinator Jerry Gordon, has accepted the head coaching position at Woodgrove High School, which will open in September. The Wolverines, which enjoy that name, and Gordon has 20 years of coaching experience. He's coached professional briefly, coached college. He's a reason that Potomac Falls, made the playoffs for the first time in school history. So it's a really good fit. He lives out in Western Loudon. It's great to see Woodgrove hiring him. And then tonight, some even later breaking news. Andy Hill, that was coaching at Parkview, and we talked a couple weeks ago about that he stepped down to look for other opportunities. He found that opportunity just across the border, right down the toll road in Reston, South Lakes High School. Andy Hill will be the new South Lakes coach. And you covered Andy Hill when he was at Parkview. He has some thrilling offenses, and what do you think he'll be able to do for South Lakes?
Well, it should be interesting. South Lakes was a team that really took a step up this year. Obviously, with new coach, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but I think it's a great fit. I really do. Not a very big school, South Lakes is, but it's a good size fit for Andy Hill. Yeah,
it's going to be exciting. If the people that haven't seen his offenses, I think they're going to enjoy. Just be prepared for some trick plays.
All right, Monica, back over to you.
All right, well, we have a special treat for you tonight. As I said, we're going to be talking a lot about the state championships that have taken place. And first of all, we have on the line Beverly Kelly, the head coach of the Broad Run swim team. Coach, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, Coach, congratulations on your team's performance this past weekend. I want to just jump right into it. And one of your athletes had a storybook day. And, of course, that was Mark Sarman winning 2 individual events, 1 relay event. Can you talk a little bit about his overall performance and just what an amazing event it was for him?
Well, Mark is a very hard worker, very focused and intense athlete. And he's been working towards this at least since he was 7. He works hard every day, and it was a great swim for him, and he looked great, and he swam great, and he did everything that he wanted to do to have a successful swim and win the gold medal, and it made it look effortless.
As great athletes often do. Now, of course, as I said, he won 2 individual events and then the relay event. Is there one event that he particularly excels in, or, does it just depend on the day that he's in the pool as to which event?
Believe it or not, he could have swam almost any event down there, except that he hates swimming the 500. So but he could have probably won the 100 free, the 50 free, 200 free, 100 back. He could have done any of them very successfully, and he's a great swimmer, and he's a great kid too.
Well, and Coach, one thing that I have to point out and ask you about is this relay team has only 1 senior on it. Of course, Mark's a junior, and then 2 sophomores, so it really bodes well for the future for Broad Run. And so can you talk a little bit about the team as a unit? Does one person take a leadership role, and just talk about how they work together as a unit on that team?
Well, it's a funny with that relay. The kids last year came in second, and they've been talking about it since last year that they were going to come back and win that relay because they got touched out, and so they came. They were ready to swim, and they came in. All of them did individual best times in their relay splits. Our first swimmer actually missed the wall in his turn, so he got a little bit behind, and the second swimmer caught up to took the lead for us, and then we kept it with Jacob, and then Mark just blew the field away. So they just get themselves so psyched up. They love winning. I guess everybody loves winning, but but and they're already talking about next year. They've already found, a kid that they're like going to work on him, get him to swim, get him his time down 3 or 4 tenths of a second so he can take the place of the kid that graduated.
Well, I think that always happens. Once you get a taste of winning, you don't want to let it go. But we've talked a lot about your boys' team, so I certainly want to talk about your girls' team as well. So who were some of the athletes for the girls that were big standouts this winter?
Well, the girls' team was much improved this year. We had 5 girls qualified for 5 individual events and 1 relay. So we had 2 new freshmen, Caroline Ruttenberg and Anna Sarman, that came in and qualified in individual events. And then Abby Pastor, who actually swam last year and was 8th in the 100 fly, she also qualified, but she'd been kind of fighting off a shoulder injury for the last 4 months. So she didn't go at best time, but she still holds the school record. So, and they are much improved, and they too are telling me, okay, we got this girl coming in, this is going to be our relay next year, and they're all excited to keep building on the program as it has been.
Well, I think that's one of the great things always when you have some athletes that push the other athletes, and the girls now want to win a state championship too. But Coach, I know one question you've been asked for the past couple of weeks is about the weather, but it seems like swimming was hit the hardest by the weather because you all didn't have any event to participate in before the state championship. So can you talk a little bit about how that impacted your team and how your team dealt with it?
Well, it was very unfortunate, and especially for the seniors who didn't get their final little bit of glory. So that, and it's even more unfortunate because I would have had 35 kids swimming in districts, and the kids that didn't go to states, that's their big championship. So those kids, of course, didn't get their opportunity to swim in their big championship. But it was the storm of the century, and hopefully it won't happen again for another. Well, it happened in '96, so I guess we got 12 years. So it won't. We should be good for at least 12 more years. I can't believe it would ever happen again.
Here's hoping. Well, Coach, I know that the state championships were a huge highlight for your team, but what were some of the other highlights of the season?
Believe it or not, they're the simple things that make the season all worthwhile. And when I say that, I mean the new kids that came in and improved every week, and the kids returning from last year that came in and improved every week, and the support that we get from the parents, which makes my job so easy because I have a great group of parents, and I think all the teams at Broad Run have a great group of parents behind them. And so it's really the little things that, and after every meet I can send out results and say we had 28 more best times this week. And again, the next week we'll send them out the results, and we have 36 more best times. And even if they're not state qualifying times, everybody continues to improve. So that my little freshmen, by the time they're a junior or senior, they're going to be down there at that state championship relay helping the team out.
Wonderful. Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations to you and your team on a fantastic season.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so that was, of course, one of the Loudon teams that had a great showing at the state championships. And, of course, Dan, there was a girls' team, Briar Woods, that also had a fantastic day as well.
Yes, Briar Woods, 2 relays won state championships. So with the Broad Run boys winning a relay, Briar Woods girls winning 2, that's 3 out of the 6 relays were won by Loudon teams. And much like the Broad Run boys, the girls for Briar Woods, they only have 1 senior on that relay. And they have 2 freshmen, a sophomore. It's incredible. They've got the Hoffler sisters. Allie Hoffler had a big meet. And I want to give a shout out to Elise Guessford, the senior, because when we talk about swimming, there's a lot of really good swimmers in this area that don't go out for the high school sport because it conflicts with the club. And talking with the coach, Jonathan Radow over at Briarwoods, he said Elise Guessford had gone around to her classmates or teammates and saying, please come out for the high school team. And she kind of got the ball rolling. And now that they're doing well, I mean, they finished 4th on the state level without a diving component. The Broad Run boys were 5th, so it's pretty phenomenal. So next year, it's going to be Broad Run boys and Briarwood girls again. It'll be exciting to watch. Also
a big day for the AAA. Robinson and Oakton, the AAA swimming. Monica Moore will set everything up for you.
That's right. Well, high expectations were there for a lot of the Northern Region teams, and so we'll show you what happened at the AAA state championships. You see there the Robinson girls dominating victory for them, but lots of Northern Region teams up there, Langley, Oakton, West Springfield, all finishing in your top 5. And then for the boys, Oakton winning your state championship. You see there 202 points. So many athletes on their boys team having record days, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But you see there all Northern Region teams there in your top 5. Langley, Fairfax, Robinson, and W.T. Woodson. But it wasn't just that the Northern Region teams having so much success at that event, but so many state records were broken, Paul. It was just a phenomenal event for these Northern Region swimmers, and even one national record was broken.
Yeah, they used the meters in this pool down in Princess Anne. So most states in this country and most meets usually go by yards. So there was a lot of opportunities to break state and national records, and there was a lot of state records broken. If we take a look at the graphic, KJ Park from Oakton getting the 200 individual medley, another Oakton relay, and then Bradley Phillips got 2 records. Caitlin got a record. So Oakton getting tons of state records. And one thing you should notice about Oakton is the boys team winning the state title is big because Robinson had won 7 consecutive state titles before that. So Oakton gained their first state championship in program history for the boys side. And for the girls side, the Robinson girls, if you look at some of the other new state records, on the girls side, Robinson girls got their 2nd straight state title. So one streak snapped for Robinson, 1 started. As you take a look at the other state records broken at the event, you see the Langley boys over there with a national record in the 200 medley relay, and Corey Bowersox from Robinson, only a sophomore, getting his 2nd consecutive state title in the 1-meter dive. So Monica, a lot of interesting stuff happening over at the state swimming meet.
Well, and very impressive because as Paul and I talked about on the program last week, these athletes having to deal with the weather, having to deal with being out of the pool, and then jumping into competition later on in the season certainly overcame that adversity, and a great showing for the Northern Region teams there at the AAA state championships. Well, let's segue into another sport now that's had their state championships going on and talk a little bit about wrestling. In just a minute, we hope to have the Freedom head coach on the phone. But Dan, lots of Freedom wrestlers having a big day at this state championship, and then other wrestlers from Loudon also really having a phenomenal event.
That was a great day. The Freedom had 3 seniors that made it through into the medal rounds, and not only did they finish strong, but they won those final matches. So, you get the medal round. I mean, 1 through 8, you're going to get on the podium, but it's kind of nice to finish out, especially your senior career by doing that. You see here Chung Lee at 119 was 5th, and Charles Constantino also 5th, and then Joseph Sheptok, and all those were seniors. So that's a great way for them to go out. And Freedom had, they were the class team out in Loudon this year, and we were very strong. But other than that, we also had out there Vince Dorenzo ended up finishing 4th place. That's the highest finish of any Loudon wrestler. Now we see is the graphic there, 161 career wins. Paul, I know that's 160 more wins, I believe, than you got in wrestling.
Well, I never made it to the varsity level, Dan. I was a JV wrestler. We have a coach on the phone, so Monica Moore, take it away.
All right, as I mentioned, we have Coach Kent Nagy on the phone from the Freedom Wrestling Team. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Well, Coach, your team had a phenomenal season. And first, I just want to go through some of the highlights leading up to the big one, of course, the state championships this past weekend. But at districts this year, you guys won districts and by a phenomenal margin, 82 points. Can you talk about some of the highlights from that event and really how building on that helped you even go further into the postseason?
Well, coming into this year, we were setting our goals really high. We wanted to come in and try to win at least 7 district championships, and we told the kids that at the beginning of the year, and they really lived up to the expectation. They came in, they won 8. We had 9 in the finals. We had 14 kids qualify for region, which was the most of any team in the region. So obviously we were pretty happy with that.
And Coach, I know that another great event for you guys this year is the event that's named after your father, the Lou Nagy event, and that your team not only participated, but you won. So can you talk a little bit about the emotions of that day and how much that meant to you and your team?
At the end of the day, that wasn't much for the boys for as anything else. They were really looking forward to trying to win that tournament. I'm very close with my kids. We spent a lot of time together in the season, out of the season, and I think they felt like it was something that they could do for me, and they knew how close I was with my father. And, you know, I take a lot of the lessons my father taught me and apply them to these boys. So it did mean a lot to win that tournament, and it was a good moment for the boys and for me, and we did it with a few young kids that don't normally wrestle. We had some starters out, and it was a great day for those kids.
Well, Coach, and I've waited long enough. I have to bring up now the state championships. Of course, you had 3 medalists in that event. So can you talk a little bit about each of them individually and what that day was like for them?
I think it was a pretty amazing day for our kids. You know, Chung Lee finished 5th in the state. This is a kid that is one of the most respected kids in this district. He is a really, really quiet kid, but he's an extraordinarily hard worker. He's there all summer and spring and just working his tail off. And I can't say enough about that kind of kid, you know. And that goes the same for Joe Sheptalk. He finished 7th. Joe he's really been the vocal leader of our team. He is the leader of our room. And, you know, for him to get out and win a state medal, if you would have told me that a couple of years ago when I got there, it wouldn't have been possible because he's come a really, really long way, and he worked exceptionally hard to do so. And finally, we got Chuck Constantino. This is a kid that came in as a 4 seed into the state tournament and came home with a 5th place medal. He beat a regional champion in the tournament in order to get to the medal round. So I think that speaks a lot to that kid's character, that he really didn't care about the seed he had. He just kept wrestling. And all 3 of those kids won their last match. They won their last high school match, and that's an amazing thing for a kid to get to do. So I'm absolutely ecstatic about how my seniors wrestled.
Well, and speaking of character, I know that you have a wrestler on your team that you're really proud of, Michael Hostie, who just has a great story. So I wanted to let you share that because I know that he is just one of the best stories on your team and a fantastic young man.
Yeah, Michael Hostie is a pretty amazing kid. My first year here was 3 years ago, and Mike was a freshman, and he got into the lineup for no other reason than he was pretty much the only kid that could make the weight at 103. And he really got a desire for the sport. Unfortunately, last year, you know, he got too big and he couldn't get into our lineup. We had Tom Philbrick and Chung Lee and Steve Marquina, so there wasn't a spot for him. A lot of kids would have quit. They couldn't hack the fact that, hey, I was a starter and now I'm the JV kid. But Mike continued to work harder than anyone on our team, and he went from being a kid last year that was sitting on our bench and really was our 3rd string 119-pounder to being a double district champion this year. And we actually had 3 kids like that. We had 3 kids that were JVs that were district champions this year, and Michael, Sean Gattani, and Chris Rita. So I think it really speaks to those kids and how hard they worked this past year and their determination.
Well, and perhaps your athletes had to work even harder this year just because of the weather situation and just all the adversity that caused. So can you talk a little bit about how that impacted your team in preparing for the postseason?
Yeah, that's kind of an unfortunate situation. You really hope that those things don't happen. But at the end of the day, our kids, we told them, you need to find ways to work out. You need to find ways to push yourself. And at the end of the day, they were doing those things. We obviously didn't get into our practice room for a long period of time. I think we practiced twice in our room in February. So that's kind of a hard thing for our kids to overcome, but they did. Now, we obviously had 6 kids that were in the top 5 of our region, so they made it work, and the kids, they did a great job.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations to you and your team on a fantastic season.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on here today. Your coverage is great for our sport, and thank you.
Thanks, Coach. All right, so we've told you about some of the Loudoun teams. Let's talk a little bit about what first happened at the Northern Region Championships in wrestling. Those were held at Fairfax High School, and for those who saw the program last week, of course, Paul and I were live from this event. So you see there what happened in some of the weight classes. Robinson really having a great day. You see there Dallas Smith, Jacob Crawford, and Roman Perryman, all 3 there. And then for some of the higher weight classes, we'll see those results as well. So another Robinson wrestler, Mickey Bennett, and then Ross Renzi from Lake Braddock. He's been a favorite all season long. Austin Fallon, Andrew Embry, some expected results there. Those wrestlers really living up to the billing from all season long. But Paul, you were at this event, so what were some of the things that surprised you and what you thought were the big highlights and standouts for the region? Well,
not necessarily a surprise, but you saw that list of all the champions. You see Robinson all kind of dominating that list. Something very impressive is Westfield had 10 wrestlers wrestle in the championship round. So some of them didn't obviously win, but they had 10 wrestlers go to the championship round, 10 out of 14. That's why they won the Northern Region by such a nice margin. A couple of things you mentioned, Ross Renzi. He had a last-second takedown of Nick Grinnups to win that Northern Region Championship. Renzi hurt himself in that takedown and was unable to wrestle in the state tournament. Also, Nick Grinnups, he had a head injury in the first round of the state tournament, so he didn't advance at all. Those are 2 of the favorites to at least medal at the state tournament, both of them being knocked out with injury. Another thing, you see Austin Fallon and Jacob Crawford, and we'll talk more about them later, but just dominating performances by both those wrestlers. Fallon coming in, defending region champ, and was defending state champion. We'll see what happens with him at the state level. And Jacob Crawford, that's his first Northern Region title as he transferred to Robinson this year.
Okay, so we'll look at the final standings for this event. Or actually, we'll move along here. But so Northern Region Wrestling event, great event. And then the state championships this past Saturday happened. Jacob Crawford and Austin Fallon, as Paul mentioned, had a huge day, both of them winning in their weight division. So a Robinson wrestler, a Westfield wrestler. Those were the top 2 teams in the region. Westfield finishing first, Robinson finishing second. But then a lot of other wrestlers placing as well. Dane Harlow, who was named the best wrestler at the Northern Region tournament on that list. Mickey Bennett, Kyle Arnold as well. So Paul, any surprises there? Certainly Austin Fallon, Jacob Crawford repeating, huge news for the region.
No real surprise with Fallon and Crawford. Fallon, and both their matches were not close, by the way. They dominated their championship round. Austin Fallon, just a fantastic wrestler. He's going to Bucknell University to wrestle next year. Obviously coming in as defending state champ, he was the favorite to win and did so easily. Jacob Crawford, he won a state championship last year at the AA level before transferring into Robinson, the AAA level this year. So he was a defending state champ as well, not in the same classification, but a defending state champ. He wins handedly as well. Crawford, many think, is one of the top wrestlers at his weight class in the nation in 130-pound weight class, one of the best in the state, so he dominated as well. Just two fantastic performances. And Robinson, they hosted this event, and they did very well, placing second at the state tournament. Westfield placing third, as you see Frank W. Cox dominating the performance, a great wrestling school down by the beach. Robinson second, Westfield third, Kellum fourth, and Hopewell was fifth. But Robinson and Westfield, that's the story for us. They did a fantastic job and a great night for head coach Chuck Hoskins and Brian Hazard.
Well, and speaking of Robinson and Westfield, we were able to talk with a lot of the winners from both the state meet and the region meet, so we'll show you some of their interviews from some of the top wrestlers. Ross, absolutely a fantastic match for you. Can you take me through the last round, what you were thinking in your mind from beginning to end?
Pretty much it's like another tough match. All of our matches were really tough. I've known the kid for a while, and I was like, I got to get this one. He's had a few regional titles. I just need to bring one home for me. And I just was like, pacing myself, trying to get the takedown early. He was doing a good job on defense, but pretty much he set me up in the situation for me to throw one of my best moves, and I hit it and got it, so it felt pretty good.
Now you've got a couple of days before the state championships. Are there specific things you're going to be focusing on before then?
Well, I'm just focused on get a good conditioning tomorrow, take it kind of light going live, and just drill my moves, what I've been bread and butter the whole year, kind of my moves that I've been using to help me win matches like these.
Well, again, an absolutely phenomenal victory for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'm standing here with Roman Perryman, another one of our winners tonight. Roman, Robinson having a great day today. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to practice with so many phenomenal wrestlers day in and day out, and how that helps you prepare to win an event like this tonight?
It's actually just great having like all the good guys. Everybody pushes everybody else. It's just like one guy beating up on another guy and just giving it back to him, and it's just awesome because everybody pushes everybody else and just makes everybody better.
Now, obviously, you're a very well-known wrestler around the region. You kind of have a bullseye on your back, some might say. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you dealt with that mentally?
I just try not to let it affect me as much because. Just because like I don't want to feel the pressure or anything, but I definitely noticed that there's a target on my back, but I just try not to let it get to me and just wrestle my match and kind of keep my blinders on while I'm wrestling and not let it get to me.
Obviously, one more match to go. What are the big things you're focusing on for the state championship?
I'm just trying to wrestle my match in all my matches. Try not to give up any stupid points, just stay in good position, and then hopefully come out with the W.
Roman, congratulations, a great win tonight.
Thank you.
Kyle, congratulations on a great match. Now, I've noticed you and your teammates have dyed your hair, a little bit of team solidarity. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, last year was like the first year, and we were just kind of like, it was just really spontaneous. One day after practice, we all decided to just go dye our hair, and so we decided to do that again this year, and it's just good team bonding activity, and just gets us all together, really.
Obviously not able to get in and work on the mats this week as much with the snow. What were the types of things you were doing to prepare for tonight?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of shoveling we could do. But I mean, we would all we would just try to go to the gym like if we could and like run on the treadmills and like lift weights and like, I mean, I know some of my friends even like we wrestled like in our basements and stuff like that, like with their dads, stuff like that. So.
Well, Kyle, congratulations. I'm standing here with Dane Harlow. Dane, a great match for you today. What was your strategy going into it?
Just give it my all, and hopefully I'll come out with a win.
And what was the highlight for you of the match other than getting the win?
Definitely how my dad, I'm up there on the wall with him now, so that's a great feeling.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic victory for you. Back to you guys. Well, Brooks, Robinson is having a great championship round. Dealing with all the snow, how did you guys prepare coming into this?
Oh, it was tough because we weren't able to get in the room, so we decided to do things on our own. Shoveling snow is definitely a real good workout with the amount of snow that came down, but we also we had to run and just jump rope around the house.
Well, obviously getting the win is a big highlight for you. What were some of the other highlights of the match?
I just after he got the first takedown, I just knew I had to step it up a little bit. So I got my escape and then took him down, and then I just kept the pressure on him.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Brooks.
I'm here with 130-pound champion. Oh, how does it feel? I mean, how does this championship feel? You got a championship last year in AA. How does this one feel?
It's a great feeling to win a second state title. It was my goal from the beginning of the year, so it's happy all my hard work paid off.
Now, Jacob, you're on the Robinson home court. How good does it feel to get a state championship at your own school?
Well, it's definitely a great feeling to be at home wrestling for a home crowd. Just glad I could pull through.
And this Robinson team gonna go ahead and get second in the team race. A great finish for your team.
Our team's been working hard all year. I'm happy that we got a second place title. Not as good as first, but we can take it behind Cox. They're a pretty tough team.
All right, Jacob Crawford, 130-pound champion. Two-time champion, Austin Fallon of Westfield. Austin, how does this second one feel?
Feels great. I just had a lot of fun out there this time. I felt pressure before, but not during the match. I just went out there. My last high school match. Just wanted to have fun, show everything that I got, not hold back at all.
Your senior year, 52-1. It seems like you had a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, I did.
But did you feel any pressure at all on being a defending state champion?
Yeah, I felt pressure all before the matches, except for when I got out there. It just all goes away when I get out on the mat, and it's just wrestling.
This win secured Westfield to third place in the state. How big is that?
Well, it's real big. Behind those two teams are great. They have a lot of wrestlers that went really deep in the tournament, and I feel that I did my job for my school and for myself and my family and everybody.
All right, Austin Fallon, congratulations.
Well, Paul, I guess my question with that AAA meet is there's a little bit of controversy that was even held on that Saturday because the Northern Region meet got pushed back to, was it Wednesday?
It ended on Wednesday, yeah.
I mean, for wrestling to have two huge meet for kids, biggest meets of their season, if you're a senior, the biggest meets of your life. 2 days rest between, and I understand that even the local schools, Robinson offered to move it if they could.
Robinson was hosting it. Mickey Bennett, the athletic director, the director of student activities, he tried to, but again, VHSL said these are the dates. We are not changing them. So the Northern Region, obviously with the snowstorm, they had to cancel their district tournaments. Okay, 9 days without practice. Okay, so Northern Region starts on Tuesday, ends on Wednesday. Okay, 2-day event. Thursday, you can't really do a big practice, so they had a half practice there. State tournament starts on Friday. So I talked with Brian Hazard from Robinson after the meet. So they got back on that Sunday. They had a half practice on Sunday, half practice on Monday. Region started, and here's the big thing. This is a unique situation to the Northern Region. The snowstorm hit in this area, so all the other wrestlers from all the other regions didn't have this problem. Obviously, Robinson and Westfield still did a great job, but it was tough.
And I think if you follow high school sports in the state, it's not the first time that maybe one region, and maybe the Northern Region, got outvoted by the other regions of the Virginia High School League, which is out of Charlottesville. Maybe felt a little unfair to people up here, but we're biased because we cover the Northern Region.
Hey, still 2 out of the top 3, so that's not too bad for wrestling.
Excellent showing.
All right, Monica, back to you.
All right, well, the wrestlers weren't the only athletes that competed on Wednesday and then competed on Saturday. The gymnasts from the Northern Region did as well. And Maria Hayden having a fantastic week. The Herndon standout, not only winning the region all-around title with a score of 39 points, also winning the state all-around title, and especially wonderful for her because she was injured last season, really finished her senior year with a bang, and of course she will still be competing in club gymnastics, and so lots more gymnastics in the future for Maria Hayden, but a phenomenal event for the Herndon senior. And then also a freshman from W.T. Woodson, Simone Friedman, finishing third place in the all-around. So lots of great things to come for Simone. And then, Dan, a lot of the Loudon athletes also having great events at the championships.
Yeah, a couple standouts. Amanda Hubner from Loudon Valley on the floor. She was in the top 6. And Tori Severin from Stonebridge, who had been injured earlier in the season. We had talked about it. And she was able to come back, and she finished 6th also in the bars. And Dre Ewing was in. Now, she's a AA gymnast, but she's put into the all-around and finishes 10th. And there's sort of a unique situation. I can think much like lacrosse and gymnastics are 2 of the sports where they have a sort of an open state meet. And the AA schools have to go and compete with the larger schools. And it didn't used to be like that. There was a time when AA had enough teams competing that they could have their own state championship. But there's a formula the VHSL uses. If enough schools don't compete, you don't get to have a state championship in that sport. And there was a time when Parkview High School just dominated AA gymnastics and won 5 or 6 state titles. But now AA schools can only go to districts, and that's as far as they can go.
All right, well, that's it for wrestling. Monica Moore will set us up with basketball.
That's right. Lots of basketball going on this past weekend. They were doing their district championship. So let's talk a little bit about it, starting with the boys Concord district, because that was one of the most exciting districts to see this past weekend. During the semifinals in the first game, Oakton squared off against Herndon. Herndon was the #1 seed. Oakton defeated Westfield to get to that semifinal game, and you see Oakton getting the victory. And a lot of people, you know, would certainly say that having that game against Westfield with all the snow, that was one good thing for Oakton. But we were at that game, and Oakton gave a fantastic performance. Andrew Daniels, a huge standout for Oakton, a very well-deserved win for David Brooks and his club. And we got to speak with Coach Brooks and Adi Hirovic at the end of the game.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Adi Hirovic and Dave Brooks. Now, Adi, you guys defeat the #1 seed heading, and you're going to be going into the finals. How does it feel?
It feels great. It's been a while, and it feels amazing.
You had 20 points tonight. Talk a little bit about what it was like to battle in the low post.
It was a battle, but it worked out for us, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Now, of course, you guys had a big win over Westfield to come into this game. Talk a little bit about the momentum and how that helped you.
Well, Westfield's always been a good competitor, and it was a tough game, but it really gave us the energy and momentum to go into this game.
Now, Coach, obviously your team played with a lot of confidence tonight, as you and I have talked about. What were you most pleased about during the second half?
Our composure. Herndon's a phenomenal basketball team. They really are. And they got the lead from 11 to 6 in about 30 seconds. But our guys stayed poised. They didn't let his previous possessions interfere with future possessions. And that's what I'm most proud of. They're poised, they're patient, and they're a very confident basketball team right now. And I couldn't be prouder of him or the rest of these guys.
One thing I was really impressed with is it really was a team effort for you. Your first 4 baskets scored by 4 different players. Can you talk about how well your guys played as a team tonight?
That's how you have to beat a team like Herndon. You can't do it as individuals. Maybe in our previous 2 games against them, that's how we tried to do it. When they made a run, we looked to take it upon ourselves and go 1-on-5 because we'd be mad. But tonight we stayed on an even keel and realized that we needed to go 5-on-5. And we also played with our heads, and we realized that Audie had it going. And he was phenomenal on the inside tonight, and we were willing to rely on him as much as possible.
Thanks so much, Coach. Congratulations.
So that was the first semifinal game. In the second semifinal game, Chantilly squared off against Centerville. This is #3 against #2. And we have some highlights of this game to show you. These are 2 of the top teams from the district all year long. And Warren Denny, of course, the standout. We've been talking about him all season long. And then Keith and Savage for Chantilly. It was great to see those 2 athletes. They're such athletic basketball players. You never know what they're going to do. They have so many moves in their repertoires. But you see there early on, it looked like Chantilly might have a little bit of an edge. And there Warren Denny slashing. Nice shot from the outside. So both of these teams didn't get to play the second time during the regular season because of all the snow. Bobby Warhurst there from behind the arc. He had a big day for the Wildcats, but lots of different Wildcats showing that they were very capable of scoring. And then Keith and Savage right there, #23. You're going to see him a lot in these highlights. Nice rebound there from Cameron Owens drawing the foul. Savage there from behind the arc. So these teams neck and neck early on. Chantilly, of course, had played in the quarterfinal game against Robinson, so they had been back out on the hardwood, whereas Centerville had had the big break from the snowstorm with the bye. And again, that proved to be a big difference maker for these teams having that experience in that game the night before. But you can't take anything away as Chantilly started pulling away from the Wildcats. Savage there having a big game. Now later on, he suffered a cramp and had to go out of the game. John Manning, their big senior, was in foul trouble, but in the end, it was not enough for the Wildcats to defeat the Chargers. Warren Denny there trying to do everything he could for his club. And then here's Warhurst again, #14, finishing up with 12 points. But you see there, it was Keith and Savage, 24 points to lead the Chargers into the final against Oakton. And then in the Concord District Final, it was Oakton getting the 1 4-point victory over Chantilly. You see Andrew Daniels there, the game-winning shot. And Paul, Oakton was probably not the favorite to win the district, but they had a phenomenal weekend.
How about Craig Sturbelt's there from Fat Boy Photos with a fantastic photo of the game-winning shot by Andrew Daniels. I spoke with Dave Brooks, head coach Dave Brooks, the day after, and he mentioned he's a first-year head coach. He was a Langley assistant over there at Langley and came in, and he said he came here to win. Oakton, the girls basketball team, just a dynasty. But the boys side, you know, kind of an afterthought. Well, obviously until this year, their first district championship since 1972, I believe. And, you know, they came in as the number 4 seed, beating Herndon and then beating Chantilly, 2 teams that dominated them during the regular season. And I talked with Andrew Daniels, and he said, it's not about the team gelling at the right time. It's not about, you know, other stuff like that. It's just like, we are a talented team. He thinks they're the most talented team, and they just wanted it more. He says, as cliche as it sounds, it's just about heart. And obviously, Oakton showed that by winning the Concord District title. Andrew Daniels, Adi Hedrovic, two kids that showed that you know, they're 2 great basketball players, and they're playing at a different level during this tournament. So, you know, congratulations to the Cougars. Monica, back to you.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I did mention the fact that the 2 teams that made it into the final had those quarterfinal games, but you saw a lot of heart on the floor, a lot of desire. They wanted to win those games, and so congratulations to the Cougars. Now, as Paul said, the Cougars not having won a championship since the 70s, not the case in the Liberty District, where we had a 3-time repeat for Langley, 58-40 win over Marshall. Congratulations to Travis Hess and his team, who really owned the Liberty District in the past few years, and a lot of people had question marks about how Langley was going to do this year, but they certainly turned it on when district play started and never looked back. Moving on, let's talk about the remaining boys finals. First of all, let's start off with the National District. You see there Mount Vernon squaring off against Yorktown. And this is one where people might be scratching their heads wondering what happened to Hayfield, not to take anything away from Yorktown, but of course what happened was they were disqualified because they used a player who was not eligible to play when they played Falls Church. So that game they were disqualified for and didn't get a chance to go on to throughout the tournament. And so that's what happened in the National District. Now closing out with the Patriot District in the Northern Region, West Potomac getting the overtime victory over W.T. Woodson. Daryl Copeland pouring in 24 points. Martez Redfern pouring in 21. So fantastic day for the Wolverines. Now finally closing out with boys basketball, let's talk a little bit about the Dulles District, where Dan Potomac Falls has been dominant all year.
The Panthers, boy, I tell you what, Jeff Hawes, the coach out there, if they don't win the district title, they win a tournament title over the years. Last year they hadn't won anything, so they made up for it this year by winning the regular season and the tournament title. 69-58, they beat Broad Run in the finals. They had split in the regular season, so Potomac Falls is the champion. Lucas Mihalovic, 21 points for him, and it was just a solid performance. Potomac Falls had too much height for Broad Run. And these 2 teams are going to play again this Thursday in the regional semifinals. So even though they're both ranked in the top 5 in the state because of the way the regional brackets got put up, one will go on and qualify for states, and one season will end.
Care to make a prediction about that meeting?
Well, they've been switching every other time, but I'm going to say if Potomac Falls can play the way that they played on Saturday night, they will win again because they showed so much height inside. They've got Greg Graves, who's 6'5", and they also had a couple of other guys. Mickey Wagenhofer, who had a great game, another tall kid, and then coming off the bench they had Matt Hoover, and they just threw so much height at Broad Run. Now Broad Run's got Kevin McGowie, Taylor Johnson. They have the ability to beat Potomac Falls, but they're going to have to play better. You're going to have to make some better decisions than they made Saturday.
All right, that is boys basketball. Monica Moore over with girls.
Well, and one final point about boys basketball, we do have the all-region boys first team here. You see lots of players there making the first team. Max Lennox, the player of the year from W.T. Woodson, and Chris Whelan, well-deserved honor from Herndon. But let's talk a little bit about these players, guys. Nick Brown from Stonebridge, a well-deserved honor, and then Chad Kennedy from Hayfield. Glad to see him making the list as well.
To see Stonebridge obviously this year, and I was very impressed with Nick Brown. So it's a great honor for a Stonebridge boy to get first team all-region.
It was a good honor for him, and unfortunately for him, they really had aspirations to make this region tournament. Stonebridge has never made the Northern Region tournament. They should have been the number 2 seed going in, but because of the snow, Liberty, like a lot of the districts, decided just to go back to the first half of the season, which put them at a number 3 or 4 seed. They were a little bit lower. They played McLean. They had a big lead, and McLean, give them credit, came back. A kid got fouled at the very end, made 3 free throws with a second left to tie the game, sent it overtime, and dashed Stonebridge's hopes. So Stonebridge has yet to make the Northern Region tournament since going to AAA.
Also give love to Ryan Yates from TC Williams and Skylar Jones from Mount Vernon, 2 fantastic players, and Chris Whelan from Herndon winning the Coach of the Year. Back to Monica.
All right, let's go through the girls' games. First of all, from the Concord District, Oakton, as Paul said, has had a dynasty in girls basketball. The Courier twins, Zora Stevenson and Danielle Davis, all having big days for the Cougars in the Concord District. Now, in the Liberty District, this was a great matchup as well. People were anticipating this matchup between Madison and those freshmen over at South Lakes Christy Winter Scott's club. It went to overtime before Madison eked out the win there, but that was a fantastic district matchup. Over in the National District, no surprise here, Edison squaring off against Mount Vernon, getting a big win over Mount Vernon in the National District. And then finally in the Patriot District, it was West Springfield squaring off against South County and getting the win. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the Dulles District, because Dan, this matchup happens a lot during basketball season, but always anticipated and always an enjoyed matchup.
Yeah, Loudoun County and Freedom, they're always playing each other. They both won state championships last year. They split in the regular season, so they had a 1-game playoff. Freedom looked really strong in that 1-game playoff, and less than a week later, they meet in the finals. And Loudoun County Saturday night looked fantastic, 69-58. So both the scores out of Dulles were identical there that night. And Loudoun County wins the Dulles District title. What do they get for that? They get the number 3 seed in the region. Freedom, which loses, gets the number 2 seed in the bye. It doesn't make sense to me, so don't ask me to explain it. And the number 1 seed in the region is Liberty, which lost head-to-head this year to Freedom and Loudoun County both. So as a consequence, Loudoun County won on Tuesday over James Wood, big. They're going to play at Freedom now on Thursday. It's the two best teams right now in the state. They're playing in the regional semis. One team will be done and will not even get to call itself regional runner-up, and the other team will go on and make states. But that's just how it falls sometimes in these regional setups.
Safe to say you're not very happy with that.
It's just, I mean, any system that doesn't allow you to go and say head-to-head, and that's idea. What happened in the system is the Northwestern District divided from 10 teams to 2 5-team districts. It allows for some chances to have weak districts. And Liberty, they won their district title, and that's great in a 5-team district, but they actually played Freedom and Loudoun County head-to-head and lost. The first tiebreaker wasn't. It was their record against their own opponents in district. Liberty was undefeated in district. County and Freedom, by having split, got lower seeds.
All right, well, one more sport to do, and Monica Moore will set us up for some track.
That's right, the Northern Region Championships taking place this past weekend. You see for the girls, Lake Braddock getting the big win over Robinson. Robinson finishing second. And then for the boys, South Lakes has just been dominant in indoor track. They got the big win over Langley. But Paul, as always happens at the Northern Region Indoor Track Championship, there were so many phenomenal athletes performing and just lots of great highlights.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to take a camera over to the Northern Region Indoor Track Meet. Take a look at Sophie Chase real quick and what she was able to do for in the Northern Region. She won the 3,200 meter with a time of 11 minutes, 9.57 seconds. She also won the 1,600 meter with a time of 5 minutes, 4.94 seconds. Great job by her. And Gina Marie McCant, our best runner from this area, one of the best runners in the state, won the 300, the 500, and anchored the winning 4x200 Robinson winning relay team. But let's take a look at what Sophie was able to do. I talked with her after winning the 3,200.
Okay, Sophie, congratulations. How do you feel right now?
It's amazing. I'm so happy. I felt like I really gave it my all for my team, for everybody. It's just the most amazing feeling in the world right now.
So 2 region championships, also a great cross-country season in the fall. I mean, did you expect this from your first year?
Oh, no way. just going into cross country, I was like, oh, I'll try it out, see how it goes. And eventually getting third at states, it was a pretty good indication that I had found the right sport that I wanted to be in. And so going into indoor, I just wanted to do the same, you know, see how I did. And obviously this was above what I thought I was going to do, especially at regionals, winning 2 regional titles.
Your team also battling it out for the team title. How does it feel to be able to help them towards that goal?
Oh, it's amazing. That's what kept me going through the race. Just seeing Taylor ahead of me and knowing I would really have to fight for it if I wanted to put my team up there. And I felt like I really contributed to it. And of course, I couldn't have done it without the support of my teammates cheering me on, my coaches, and my family. And it was incredible to be able to do that for my team.
All right, so now in Lake Braddock, staying with Lake Braddock, Megan Baumgardner, she won the 55-meter hurdles, and it was extremely close. We can take a look at my interview with her.
Congratulations. I'm talking about that race. It was pretty close.
It was very close. Actually, I originally thought that I didn't win it, but I guess that lean over the finish line was what it took.
I saw your expression, so you didn't think you won?
Yeah, they didn't know, and I was about to run the 4x2, and then they announced it, and I mean, I'm glad my team was there to celebrate with me.
Yeah, I saw that expression as well when they announced it. A little bit of surprise, but also, you know, a lot of joy, obviously.
Yes.
And then we were just talking with your coaches. No one really realized that you had won. They didn't hear.
Yeah, everyone thought I was second.
How long was the delay between the race and actually finding out you won?
I mean, it wasn't that long, but I guess it was a pleasant surprise because I thought that, I mean, as opposed to the other way around.
What else are you running besides the relay?
I'm done now.
Are you done?
I high jumped already this morning.
So a pretty successful Northern Region meet for you?
Yeah, it's been well. It's been good.
All right, thanks.
In another very close race, Sarah Jane Underwood of West Potomac beats Maya Hicks of Edison in the girls' 1,000.
Congratulations, that's a close race. 1/4,000th of a second. Have you ever been in a race that close?
Seeing you against my Hicks again, and it was really close then too.
Talk about the rivalry you guys have. You guys both being able to push each other. Can you talk a little about that?
We both pretty much build off of each other, I guess. She's really good at pacing, I think, so it's good to stay with her. And we always end up battling it out at the finish.
What was your plan coming into the race? To start out strong, or what was it?
I actually sometimes pretend that the first lap doesn't count, and then I look at it as an 800, and basically just stay with the path, and then feel good at the end, go for it.
And talk about that last little kick there at the end.
Yeah, just kind of had to like give it what I got, just focus on the finish line, and not too hard to get in there.
All right, so that's the interviews for the girls. One more clip I want to show you, and that's Gina Marie McCant. We talked about how she won 2 events and anchored the winning relay for the Robinson girls. Just watch her race in the 300. It's something to watch. Expect Gina Marie to win or be a favorite to win the 500 and the 300 at the state meet. Let's transition over to the boys for a second and talk about David Ladd. He won the boys 55-meter dash, but Nabil Mezher finished 3rd in that 55-meter dash. So 2 Fairfax guys coming in 1st and 3rd. We're going to show you some video highlights from that in a little bit later. Let's jump back into Nathaniel Meseret from Robert E. Lee. He was also, just like Sophie Chase from Lake Braddock, he won the 3,200 and the 1,600, so a dual winner for Nathaniel Meseret. But let's just jump into David Ladd, and I interviewed him after his race.
Hey, David, congratulations. Talk about the race.
I think I did pretty good. I have no idea. Hopefully I did better than 6,500.
Talk about the competition. It was a pretty highly contested race.
My own teammate in the building.
Yeah, talk about that. You have your own teammate pushing you. How big is that when you guys practice?
It's a good advantage because I ain't never had a person on my track team that just keep me up there. Because normally I would just slack. Have someone, if I don't want to beat me, I'm gonna have all the time.
Also, the South Lakes boys, we mentioned, won the boys title, and a big reason for that was their sprinters. One of those was Adrian Vaughn. He had a great day winning the 300, I'm sorry. We can take a look at his highlights.
Adrian, congratulations. Talk about your strategy going in this race.
All out.
How good does it feel to win Northern Region Championship?
Feels great. It's been 4 years to do this.
So it's taking you 4 years to win a championship?
Yeah.
So this is your first one? So that must feel pretty special.
Definitely.
Talk about South Lakes as a whole team and the sprinters you guys have.
It's a great team, very close-knit. All of our sprinters push each other in practice all week. We have short and we have long sprinters, so nobody's left without a challenge on our team.
Was this the goal coming in to win a region title?
The goal was really a 34, so I'm hoping I got that. Region title was going to come. I hit that first goal, so.
What's your next goal?
Next goal, split a 49 to 4x4 and try to go for states.
Lake Braddock girls and the South Lakes boys won the Northern Region team title. It should be noted that Lake Braddock beat Robinson 73-72 just by 1 point. So a very highly contested race there. And remember, this may be the final Northern Region indoor track meet as it's proposed to be cut next year.
All right, well, as Paul mentioned, that is true. And so a lot of people were, very sad to hear that news, but we'll wait and see what happens because a lot of people holding out hope. I'm one of those. The indoor track will be back next year. Before we go, we want to preview the Verizon Fios Games of the Week coming up. So both Northern Region Championships will be broadcast. Those are taking place on March 1st. And before we go, we also want to thank the folks that make our program possible. First of all, our good friends at CCI Screen Printing for all of your screen printing needs. Also, special thanks to Craig Sturbutzel for the photos he provides every week. You can get copies of this program at www.pressboxvideo.com and check out our website where you'll have highlights, interviews, and more. You can become a fan of this program on our Facebook page and send us any comments, suggestions, or story ideas that you have. Well, again, thanks so much for joining us this week. We're off next week, but then we'll be back with more news and notes from around the region.